Hey guys, and welcome to another edition of GOAT Movies, the podcast for the simple movie lover, where we discuss movies we've recently seen and see if they have what it takes to become the next greatest of all time. What makes a GOAT movie? Is it quotable? Is it lovable? Is it any-able? You'll find that out today and more. For this podcast, we've spared no expense, so hold on to your butts, because we're going back to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. On today's show, we have a returning commentator, Nick Greco. What's going on, Nick?
Carlos, good to be here again. You wore me down. It took a few months to get me on there the first time, but only about a week to get me back here. So you wore me down, just like everything else in my life.
Well, you know what, Nick? That's just what I do best. It's so nice to have you back on the show, buddy. I hope you had fun last time, and hope we can have just as much fun this time, too. What'd you think?
Well, you know what? It was pretty nice to go see the movie kind of in the middle of the day by myself. Good little relaxation. So I really enjoyed it. Although, spoilers early, I didn't love the movie, but we can get into that as we go. But it was nice to get out there, and I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Well, the thing that we're talking about today, of course, we want to get straight into it, is Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. This movie was a highly anticipated sequel to the Jurassic Park franchise. It's starring our lovable Chris Pratt, who we also know as Star-Lord from all the Avengers movies. I was actually pretty excited to see this one. I had heard a couple of comments about it previous, but I tried to go into this with a clean slate, just nothing to kind of influence my outlook on this movie. The Jurassic Park series, this franchise, holds a special place in my heart because this and Nick, you can speak to this, I hope. When Jurassic Park came out, this was back in 1993. How's that for making you feel old?
Right, I guess I was 7.
Yeah, right around that age. And the thing about it is that I went and I was getting my hair cut with this lovable lady that has cut my hair for 30 plus years. As my mom was getting her hair done, this was a little mom and pop shop. I was actually sweeping the hair and just kind of trying to kill time. And she was pretty happy that I was doing that for her. And she gave me $2 from her tip jar as you know, payment for sweeping the hair for her. I was so excited that I had these $2. And back in 1993, $2 wasn't much, but still for a young kid, I felt like I was a millionaire. You would have thought that I had just hit the jackpot.
Well, in Mexico, $2 is like $20 in the United States, so that's a lot.
Okay, this was El Paso, so thank you for being racist. Anyways.
Same thing. Hey, I was born in El Paso. I can say same thing.
So, anyways, with these $2, I told my mom, I said, Mom, I'm going to treat you to this movie. And the movie we went to go see was Jurassic Park. Now, one thing that we need to know about Jurassic Park is it was directed by the greatest director of all time, Steven Spielberg. And this movie absolutely changed cinema forever. I remember seeing those dinosaurs for the first time, and just like Dr. Alan Grant was dumbfounded and couldn't speak and couldn't blink his eyes when he first laid eyes on these brachiosauruses. I mean, it was just amazing. Do you remember where you were, or do you remember seeing the first movie?
You know what, Carlos, like I said, it came out when I was really young, so I don't remember a lot. It wasn't one that I remember like exactly where I was or the instance when I went to go see it in the movie theater. I remember some of the details, and I had the tin, like Jurassic Park, lunch pails, and we had some of the toys. I remember specifically a T-Rex, I think that it was, that there's like a chomp out of its side that you can tear out so you can see its ribs. And so there's little things like that I remembered. But I was like 7 years old, so I was young enough to where like it's cool, but you don't really realize how much of a milestone movie it was until you're older. And one of the things that I want to say off the bat is you do have in the original one, like you mentioned, you have that iconic scene where they're in the Jeeps, her head is in the map, or his head is in the map, and they kind of like shake each other's head and they look up, and it's the first time that they see the dinosaur. And I feel like in this one, they had a scene where they like tried to do a cheap ripoff of that.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what scene you're talking about. And yeah, it is an iconic scene in cinema history. But we haven't given the spoiler alert yet, so we can't talk about that too much into detail right now. The thing about it is that I just remember, I mean, I just remember when I first saw the movie, when I first laid eyes on those dinosaurs, I absolutely thought there was actually a place on Earth where they had actually cloned dinosaurs and that this was somewhere that I could physically go and finally see. Because I know when I was in elementary school, that was one of my favorite parts of science class is when we started learning about dinosaurs.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, Carlos, when you're young, like dinosaurs are always cool. Like it's always cool to get the dinosaur books and see the dinosaur stuff at the museums, and it's fascinating. And I think that it's always fascinating, like even into your adulthood. I think that's one of the reasons why the first movie was so iconic and why it's turned out to be a really profitable franchise. I mean, this is what, like the fifth one? Like,
Yeah, it's definitely the fifth movie in the installment in the franchises, and this is the second one for Chris Pratt. I think the thing that made the first Chris Pratt movie, which is Jurassic World, such a record breaking movie is that, like we've said in all these other podcasts and all these movies that are being rebooted, these movie makers are now targeting the audience that saw these movies as children, and they're really playing that nostalgic factor that we were kids back then and our parents took us because they wanted to shut us up or they wanted to get us out of the house, and they thought it would be fun for kids. And now we are the ones that are paying to see this stuff, and we are paying to relive that experience. Anytime you put Jurassic Park in front of anything, it's going to immediately make money no matter how bad the movie is. And we'll get more into detail about it later on. I wasn't a big fan of how this one turned out. As I've said adamantly in all my other podcasts, I'm a big believer in quitting while you're ahead, while you're on top. You have to play these sequels very, very carefully. When Chris Pratt came out with Jurassic World after years and years of waiting, when that movie came out, it was amazing because to me, as an adult, it's kind of going back to that childhood dream of this is a real place. Holy shit, we did it. The park is open, They finally figured it out. They have the enough security. They got it all down pat. And now we can finally tour the park. This is years and years in the making, decades in the making. When Jurassic Park came out in 1993, a couple years later, they did Lost World, which was centered around Jeff Goldblum's character, Dr. Ian Malcolm. And when I saw it as a kid, I didn't think it was horrible. I thought it was all right. It wasn't as good as the first one. It wasn't anything new, but, it was pretty much, okay. But everybody was kind of asking for the main character, or what would be somewhat the main character, Alan Grant. What happened to Alan Grant? And then they did the third movie, which was completely and totally botched, genetically engineered, and just horrible dinosaurs, horrible graphics, horrible storyline. The third one is one of those sequels that you wish had never been made, and that you try to forget with such a large franchise like this. Then you have the fourth one with Chris Pratt. They kind of revamped it, they brought it back to life, and they killed it. That's why the Jurassic World broke so many records, because they nailed it. They hit it on the head. That one for sure is going to go down as one of the greatest sequels in history, or really should I say one of the greatest reboots in history, since that's really all we're seeing in Hollywood today. And much like all the reboots that we're seeing nowadays, you're getting these fans who have followed these franchises for years and years, who grew up with them, and they're sorely disappointed. And unfortunately, just like all the other reboots that have disappointed us, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, it's just a letdown. It was horrible. I couldn't stand it. And I've noticed that whenever I start taking more and more notes throughout the movie, that's usually going to be a lower and lower score, because you've just lost my interest, and now I'm just taking notes because there's really nothing else to see. Did you feel the same?
Yeah, so I was trying to remember the first new one. I don't remember what it was called, but the first one Chris Pratt was in. I mean, with the Jurassic Worlds and the Jurassic Parks, I know that I've seen all of them, but I don't really remember any of them besides the original one. So I was trying to think of what happened with the first one Chris Pratt was in, and I couldn't remember a ton. So it's kind of like I went in fresh, and I wrote some notes, and my kind of like first reaction, or my very first instinct is to like make a note of a joke that comes into my head. And so there was like a lot of instances in this movie that I just kind of like rolled my eyes at, and you're like, oh boy, of course, it's bleeding heart liberals that are trying to save the man-eating dinosaurs. Like let's not have any animals go extinct that could make us go extinct. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely. These dinosaurs
like,
have had their chance,
there have
and
to be
now
like instances like that.
yeah, absolutely. So just a little recap on what the movie is about. You know, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. J.A. Bayona was actually the director for this film. And basically, when the island's dormant volcano begins roaring to life, Owen and Claire mount a campaign to rescue the remaining dinosaurs from this extinction-level event. The whole movie, you see it in the trailer, so this isn't really a spoiler. You see Jeff Goldblum, that he's basically sitting before the Senate, and they're basically trying to fight for these dinosaurs. One thing, without saying too much of a spoiler, is this movie was a smorgasbord of all the other movies. You saw a little bit of part 1, you saw a little bit of part 2, you saw a little bit of part 3, you saw a little bit of part 4, and they just put everything together. The story was just not there. It wasn't executed well. And just like you said, there was a lot of things where it's like, really? That's where you're going to go with this? We'll talk a little bit more in detail once we give our spoiler alert, but let's go ahead and give our ratings, Nick. That way we can get straight into the trailer and then give that spoiler alert. So on a scale of 1 to 10, Nick, 1 being absolutely horrible, not worth it, not even worth your time to go and bootleg it, 10 being absolutely the best movie you've seen. You're gonna see it multiple times in a day. You got 0.5 where you can hand it out any way you like. What are you gonna rate this movie?
Oh, I think that I'm like a 5.5 or a 6. You know, I thought that the plot was really stupid. I thought the dialogue was really stupid. But I like Chris Pratt, even though to me, like I don't, you know me, you know that I don't love the superhero movie stuff. So the Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm like, never seen him, not interested. He's always Andy Dwyer to me, and that's funny and that's cool. So like, I like him. I really like Bryce Dallas Howard. The Village is one of my favorite movies, and she's great in that. And so it's like a cast that I like, and it's kind of nostalgic, but at the same time, I couldn't figure out if I was watching a Jurassic Park movie or like a Batman movie, where it's like a criminal underworld. I feel like I was watching half Christopher Nolan and half Jurassic Park. It just never really came together, and it was so far-fetched that you're like, oh, come on, guys, really? This is what you're doing? But at the end, you still walk out, and you're like, oh, I mean, it was kind of entertaining. It's Jurassic Park. There's dinosaurs. It's still kind of cool, but it certainly not living up to the first one, and I guess you never will, but kind of a sad attempt, but I'm sure they're going to make a ton of money off it, so you understand why they do it.
Absolutely. This is a moneymaker for sure. Even if the movie completely and totally tanked, you're going to get the nostalgic factor. You're going to get these people who have been with the franchise from the beginning, like myself. No matter what, they're going to pay to see this movie in theaters, just in the hopes that they nail it again, like they did with Jurassic World. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to give this a solid 5. I think you're being a little generous with that 0.5 and sometimes even going up to that 6. This movie was completely and totally not where it should be, especially for the franchise. I think that if they even attempted to do another one, that next one is going to be completely and totally awful. Unless they get a really talented writer and a very good storyline to go with it, I just don't see how this franchise can come back from a movie like this one. Chris Pratt did an amazing job.
An all-girl cast.
Right? That's probably the next one. And how these dinosaurs reproduce being all females. And of course, Jeff Goldblum said life will find a way. So maybe they will. Maybe they will take care of that, because they sure did. Exactly. So let's go ahead and take a break right now, and let's go and play that trailer for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
She's tracked. Okay, come on.
Okay. Are you okay?
I'm okay.
can you save?
11 species. Blue is the last of her kind.
You'll never capture her.
We thought you might know someone who could help.
A rescue op? What could go wrong? Hey, Blue. You know me. Come with me. You know you can't stay here. Pack your men up right now.
It was all a lie!
The man who proved raptors can follow orders. You never thought how many millions a trained predator might be once?
They're gonna sell them.
Not Blue. They need it for something else. What is that thing?
They made it.
This is the most dangerous creature that ever walked the earth.
I say we shut this whole thing down. Hey, girl. You think what I'm thinking?
Genetic power has now been unleashed.
You can't put it back in the box.
Blue! If I don't make it back, remember you're the one who made me come here. I'll be all right. These creatures were here before us.
And if we're not careful, they're gonna be here after. Welcome to Jurassic World.
There you have it, the trailer for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, PG-13, a little over 2 hours long. As always, we don't dive into detail until we give you the spoiler alert, so here you go, guys, spoiler alert.
Red alert!
Anything beyond this point is completely fair game. If you don't want the movie ruined for you, even though it's already been ruined for a lot of us, go ahead and pause the podcast, but be sure to come on back. Leave your comments in the section below and let us know what you thought. Love to have you on the show. Right off the bat, we start off with a submarine that is approaching the docks where the Mosasaurus is being kept from the first Jurassic World once the park was opened. The Jurassic Park World was one of the key animals that they had on display was the Mosasaurus. You remember this when they fed the Mosasaurus a shark and, it jumped up and ate it and everybody just, wow, very Shamu-like, SeaWorld-like. And so there are these giant docking doors that can open. They feed into the ocean and we have a submarine with a couple of workers in it and they are obviously scared out of their minds, just looking left and right. Of course, they're doing it at night with a thunderstorm coming. I mean, seriously, is this really what they're going to be doing?
In the middle of a tropical storm.
Exactly. You think about the first one, Jurassic Park starts with them unloading the velociraptors into their habitat, and they're doing it at night with spotlights. Here's a thought. Why don't you do it during the day with all the lights out? I mean, really? So one of the first comments that the submarine tech tells the other submarine tech is, don't worry, anything here has been long dead. Why are you thinking that they're long dead? Obviously, you know that there are dinosaurs on the island. So what's going on here? The whole point is that they're trying to recuperate a bone of the Indominus Rex, which was the genetically modified T-Rex that they made. And you can obviously tell that they're trying to get a DNA sample so they could essentially build another one and a bigger, badder one. And so as they are grabbing a sample of it, the camera pans around and you see the outline of the Mosasaurus. I saw this coming a mile away. What did you think, Nick?
Yeah, so the part about this scene that was so far-fetched to me, like I said, I don't remember a ton from the movie before this one, so I didn't remember that was a dino from the previous movie, but the part that was really silly to me is, when you flash up on land and the guy that's at the control panel that's waiting to get in the helicopter, they're trying to get his attention because you can see that T-Rex is after him, then he sees that T-Rex is after him, and he flips out and he runs away. And I'm like, bro, you work on the island. I saw it years ago, and I know that by sight. Look, just sit still, and he can't see you. But instead, he runs like an idiot. And then the giant, whatever it is, Mosasaurus, flies out of the water like a giant blue whale, velociraptor. And it was a little far-fetched to me, but I was like, dude, even I know that you stop in front of T-Rex. He hunts by sight. You work on the island. You don't know that?
I love the description that you're giving for these dinosaurs. It's priceless. This podcast is going to be one of the highest rated just based on your description of these animals. So basically, they are now trying to close the gates. So because they have what they need, they're waiting for the submarine to exit the lake or whatever they have it in, and they're waiting for him to clear the gate so that they can close it. And of course, the Mosasaurus eats the submarine. All of a sudden, they're trying to find them. Hey, we got to close the door. And all of a sudden, the people in the chopper see that the T-Rex is coming, and the guy at the control panel doesn't see or hear this giant T-Rex coming towards him. Now, I thought this was kind of a dick move. I don't know about you, Nick, but all of a sudden, this guy is running towards the chopper. He's not that far from it, and they take off. And all they do is lower a ladder for him, a rope ladder. To me, that was kind of dick. Really, you couldn't wait an extra 2 seconds for him to finish coming to the chopper?
I mean, is the guy that's running from T-Rex smart enough to save? He deserves to get eaten.
That is very true. So, of course, he grabs onto the ladder. They're taking off, and T-Rex grabs the ladder. Now he's pulling the ladder from the chopper, and the chopper, can't sustain both of them. Now the people on the chopper have to make the decision, do we keep trying to fight this tug of war with the T-Rex? Or do we, sorry about you, buddy. You were too dumb to not stand still. We're going to drop you. So obviously what happens next? The ladder breaks, and fortunately the guy is still hanging on. T-Rex is like, damn, I lost my appetizer. This sucks. And now the guy is climbing the ladder, and lo and behold, the Mosasaurus comes out of the water and eats him. Now it needs to be said that...
gets them.
Exactly. Next, we also have to say that in the process, when this gentleman was running from the control panel to the chopper, he had a wireless, I guess like an iPad kind of thing that was controlling the gate. And of course, he drops it. T-Rex stomps on it, and now the gate can no longer close, and Mosasaurus now gets out. So now Mosasaurus is out in the world. Saw that coming a mile away. So cut to a scene with Jeff Goldblum where he's sitting before the Senate, and they're trying to discuss whether or not the government needs to get involved to rescue these dinosaurs. Now, Jeff Goldblum is talking to them saying, that we brought these animals back from extinction, and that now they are our responsibility, and that we need to make sure that this is, basically they want to save the dinosaurs. Much like everything else in the world today, it's the government's responsibility. So, do extinct animals have any rights once they're extinct and brought back? That is basically the dilemma throughout the whole movie. Of course, you are going to build a park on an inactive volcano that just all of a sudden becomes active. So you mean to tell me that if the park had succeeded, now we're dealing with having to pick a new location? And here's my other problem with this movie, Nick, and I don't know about you. I don't know many billionaires, but how do these old guys own so many islands? I mean, John Hamm owned Site A and Site B, and then all of a sudden we find out that this other guy, Lockwood, owns another island where they want to move these dinosaurs. Are islands a 2-for-1 sale kind of thing at Kmart or something, or what?
That must be the Costco special. We'll buy 2 islands, get 1 free. No, I will tell you this, Carlos, something that I thought was really funny. Flash forward a little bit and we'll come back, but while we're on this train of thought, it was really funny to me, just because I feel like it was an oversight in the movie that, the main villain is, I guess, the guy that's taking care of Lockwood's estate, who turns out to be a bad dude. And like you said, we're talking about a guy that's obviously ultra wealthy, not 100 millionaire, probably a billionaire. He owns a freaking island that they're building dinosaurs on.
So
And this guy is this
let's
guy
just
is
stop
getting
right there really
excited.
quick. Nick, let's just
Yeah,
stop really quick. You're talking about Benjamin Lockwood, who is portrayed by the James Cornwell. Everybody knows him. He's always playing this eccentric, you know, old guy. He's great at playing old guys. He was in iRobot. He was in Star Trek. He's played a lot of different roles. And, you know, I just want to kind of give a backstory here. He basically worked with John Hamm, and they had a falling out, and John Hamm went out on his own and created Jurassic Park. Who you're talking about is Eli Mills, who is portrayed by Rafe Spall. So he is basically in charge of Lockwood's estate because Lockwood is, you know, very elderly and you know, can't really manage things himself. So go ahead with your idea from there.
yeah. So what I just thought was funny is that you have this guy who's in charge of this billionaire's estate. We get the sense that he's just got complete control of it. He's building an underground dino lab. And fast forward when they're at their dino auction, he's like super excited over making $20 million off the new dinosaur. And for me, I was like, it was a little bit Dr. Evil when he says $1 million. And they're
Oh
like,
my gosh.
that's really not that much money. So like
Exactly.
this guy has billions of dollars at his disposal, but he's like really excited for some reason about selling something for 20 million. Like for a billionaire, if your net worth is 30 or 40 billion dollars, that's like pennies. So that
Chump
I thought was
change.
kind of goofy and a little bit of oversight.
Absolutely. Now, one thing needs to be said is this is actually where Jurassic Park, the idea was conceived. They had this laboratory beneath this multi-billionaire's estate, and this is where they first started genetic testing. So we will definitely get into that a little bit later in the podcast. From here, you know, we meet Claire, and Claire has all these interns, I guess they would be, and we have a paleontologist veterinarian. And she even says that. She goes, yes, that's a real thing. Here's my thing. How can you be a dino vet if dinosaurs don't really exist? She's never seen a dinosaur. She's never worked with a dinosaur. And, you know, her name is Zia Rodriguez, and she's portrayed by Daniela Pineda. But that to me was a little bit far-fetched. It's like people who make up these degrees and make up these, oh, I went to school for this or I went to school for that. What is that? You know, there's just really nothing to it. How do these people survive? How do they make their money? For lack of a better word, you're a fake veterinarian. How many dinosaurs do you know need attention by a vet?
Yeah, this was one thing I thought was pretty goofy, but at the same time, I was like, oh, that seems about right, where you have like this really liberal social justice warrior group of people that are coming together to try and save the dinosaurs. And you meet this girl who, off the bat, I'm like, really, this is the character. It's like a hipster, racially ambiguous girl that is the dino vet, and she says she's never seen a dino. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, there's a lot of liberals out there and people in general that you're spending $50,000 a year on a degree that doesn't mean anything and you'll never practice it. And I was like, yeah, I could see that. And then you have like the dorky computer coder guy. And
so that's Franklin Webb, who's portrayed by Justice Smith. And he is, you know, just like in every other movie, we always have that computer geek. So that's who you're talking about.
Yeah, but this beginning scene off the bat for me, where you like her little operation there, for me, it was just an eye roll moment. Like, really, like, these have got to be the people. That's the message we're sending. To me, it's not coincident. It's like they're sending a message. And then I got to say this, Carlos, and you know how I am, and I tend to lean pretty heavy right on some of my political views. There was a lot of things in this movie that I thought were really far-fetched. But one of the things I thought was most far-fetched was you see they're all in the office watching kind of the verdict of the hearing that Jeff Goldblum's character was talking at. And on MSNBC, they were talking about how the senator said that it was up to God to decide what happened to the dinosaurs and that the government was going to stay out of it. And I was thinking to myself, like, to me, that was the most far-fetched thing in the movie, is that you have something on MSNBC that's talking about having less government and that they're going to let God decide. There was a lot of far-fetched things in this movie, but for me, that one maybe took the cake.
Absolutely. And not only that, but you have Jeff Goldblum's character, who has adamantly, from the beginning of the franchise, been against all of this. Just saying how it all goes against the natural order and how we're playing God, and, you know, we just threw species who have been separated by millions of years of, evolution, and they've just been thrown into the mix again. And so this is our one opportunity to set things back to the way that they were. Okay, guys, we screwed up. We shouldn't have done this. We're trying to leave these dinosaurs alone on this island where they don't interact with us, because obviously we can't coexist with these animals. Just leave them alone on this island. Now there's this volcano that's basically going to correct the wrong, and your first decision is to try to save these things. Are you kidding me? Like, what's going on? In The Lost World, where Jeff Goldblum was the main character, they tried to bring the dinosaurs to the mainland and bring Jurassic Park to the people versus bring the people to the park. Did we learn nothing when we had one T-Rex loose? Are you kidding me? So of course we have Claire, who is trying to petition all these senators for their votes and petition for money to try and relocate these. And of course that's where we meet Eli, who basically tells them, hey, we're going to take care of all your problems. We have an island. We want you to go down there. And there's some sort of plot or something like that where only Claire can activate these homing beacons that are built into all of these dinosaurs, because it's handprint, whatever. And so Claire needs to go to the island because she's the one that's familiar with the island and she knows how to activate these systems. Here's my thing. You are a multi-billion-dollar company. You don't have some sort of IT department that you can call that's going to help you turn on these sensors or whatever. There was a lot of people who evacuated the island when the park first crashed. You mean to tell me you can't call any of these people?
Maybe he was just trying to get with Bryce Dallas Howard.
That's true. I mean, that would have made for a better storyline for sure. So, of course, the main thing is that they want Blue, the intelligent velociraptor that Chris Pratt has raised since birth. And, of course, that's how Claire's going to go back to find Owen, because Owen is the only person that is going to be able to help them get Blue. So we're fast forwarding, Chris Pratt doesn't want to go back to the island. Claire, tries and convinces him, plays to his heartstrings. And then, make a long story short, they're on the island. They're looking for Blue. And of course, they're being accompanied by all these military special forces guys that are there to protect them, right? So we find Blue, and of course, Blue doesn't want anything to do with Owen, but then of course Owen starts, petting it and turns into Mr. Dino Whisperer. And all of a sudden, of course, we see it coming from a mile away. He's betrayed. They shoot the dinosaur with these tranquilizer darts. They actually shoot the dinosaur with an actual bullet, and Owen loses it. He is just going crazy and he wants to attack everybody. And then they shoot Owen with one of these tranquilizer darts, and Owen falls to the ground, and they leave him alone, and they just take Blue. So they're going to leave Owen there, whatever. Claire is stuck in some sort of bunker where they are, activating all this stuff, and these ex-commandos lock them into this bunker. And of course, this computer genius is with her, and he's trying to figure out what's going on and try to override or hack the system. As they're loading all these dinosaurs, which to me, I can say this because I'm Mexican, they must have had all Mexicans packing up these dinosaurs, because I have never seen dinosaurs packed up and ready to go so fast. They had these guys boxed up and ready to go on the ship in no time flat.
They were ready to go, Carlos. Trump would have been sending them back.
So, of course, they're loading all these dinosaurs, and all of a sudden, the volcano erupts, and there's all this lava flowing down the mountain, and this and that, blah, blah. This is where one of the biggest upsets for me was throughout this entire movie. There was a lot of parts that really upset me, but this was one of the top ones. Owen is laying face down. He can't move because they have these super strong tranquilizer darts. Oh, wait. They had that in The Lost World where they said, what, you prick yourself in the neck by accident? Don't do that. You're dead. So they're using these tranquilizers that they know are going to affect dinosaurs and could essentially kill a human being. That's how strong these tranquilizers are, okay? So Owen's been hit with one of these. Lava is coming so close to Owen, it's inches from his face. Do you have any idea how hot lava is? There is no way the lava would have gotten that close to him. And of course, Owen, being Mr. Super Guy, Mr. Manly Man, all of a sudden is able to move a little bit and slowly but surely starts coming out of it, with this tranquilizer. Are you kidding me? Here you have a dinosaur whose metabolism is 10 times the metabolism of yours, who is all muscle, and this poor animal is still knocked out completely and totally. But you've got Chris Pratt, who is half, if not, less than half, 1/8 the size of this dinosaur, but he's all of a sudden snapped out of it and he can overcome this, and then he starts outrunning the lava. Are you freaking kidding me?
Nothing Andy Dwyer can't handle.
Okay, you're obvious.
I got to rewind a little bit, Carlos. One of the things I thought was really funny, for me, it's just kind of weird that he's like this superhero guy, but I thought it was really funny. Another just big eye roll moment for me was when Bryce Dallas Howard first goes to find him, and it's like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, nothing, just building a house by myself. Like, that's what all normal people do when we haven't seen each other for a long time. I thought that was a little far-fetched and just kind of like an eye roller. Like, hey,
that
buddy,
wasn't eye roller.
For a long time. What are you doing? Oh, nothing, just building this house by myself in the middle of the forest.
Well, actually, if you listen to the dialogue between them at the bar where she's trying to convince him to go, we do catch a glimpse of the fact that they dated for a small amount of time after Jurassic Park closed. And that's where they start arguing about who left who. And he goes, yeah, and that's where I left.
And I couldn't remember there, like, if they were a couple in the first one or not. So that one, like, it wasn't that weird to me because I couldn't remember. But
yeah, so in the first one, they dated a little bit. They didn't hit it off. And then, of course, he saves her life and saves her nephew's lives and everything. And so after the park, they end up dating again for some time. And then we find them in this scenario where she is now, this liberal person trying to petition to save the dinosaurs. And like you said, he's off at the edge of a mountain off a cliff, building a house with his bare hands, with a lakeside view. So we're fast forward
by myself.
So we're fast forwarding a little bit, So we have Owen, he's running from the lava, and, cut to Claire. We're back with this computer geek who's trying to figure out how to do it. And of course he manages to open this one door behind them, and he goes, all right, we got it. All of a sudden a proximity alarm goes off, and of course it's a dinosaur. And the dinosaur is coming towards them, and they don't know because they're in a closed room. They have no idea how they're going to go out. And all of a sudden lava starts pouring into this room, all over it, burning the dinosaur, burning these people. Again, do you have any idea how hot this lava is? It's burning through solid steel. You really think that you're going to be this close to lava without having any type of issues? Are you kidding me? And then all of a sudden, oh wow, look, here's a hatch. We could have climbed out this hatch long ago, but no, we were here trying to figure out this computer and build suspense, and it was just awful. So of course they're climbing out the hatch, and the dinosaurs trying to eat them, and they make it out. And then they get into the gyrospheres. And if you remember from the last one, the gyrospheres are basically these hamster balls that you can tour the island with. And they get into it, and they're trying to run away from the lava. Here comes Owen. Miraculously, he finds them, right? And they're all caught in this Jumanji-like stampede towards the edge of a cliff. And you see this in the trailer. And the gyrosphere flies off the edge of the mountain and into the ocean, and you see dinosaurs falling into the ocean left and right. Water starts spilling into the gyrosphere, and they can't get out. Here's my thing. It's 2018. You're at one of the most advanced parks in the entire world. You mean to tell me that there isn't some sort of emergency hatch, some sort of lever, some emergency thing that's going to pop that door open?
Or that sucker's not waterproof?
Exactly. For as much money as you've paid, it better be. So here's my other problem. This is where I had another big upset with this movie. In the last movie, Claire's nephews are boarding the gyrospheres, and there is this little cameo from Jimmy Fallon where he starts explaining how the gyrosphere works and how, safe it is. And he even takes this giant gun and shoots it to show that it's bulletproof and, that these guys are completely and totally safe.
Jimmy Fallon was in the first one?
Jimmy Fallon was in the last one. He had a small cameo.
Get out of here.
He was. And so how does Owen save the day and get Claire and this geek out of the gyrosphere? He shoots a gun. He cracks the gyrosphere, it busts open, and they swim out. Not to mention that he has been underwater for well over 3 to 5 minutes. You mean to tell me that he's not going to run out of air? You mean to tell me that there aren't these dinosaurs that are jumping for their lives, that none of them are going to hit these people? I know that this is a movie, and I know that we need to suspend disbelief, but this is just one of those things that I just could not sink my teeth into. I couldn't accept this. All of a sudden, this gyrosphere that you've spent millions of dollars on that was completely and totally bulletproof, all of a sudden it's not bulletproof. Oh, it's bulletproof all over, but just not here in this spot. Really?
Maybe they just the gyrosphere they happened to get in was like the Kia Rio gyrosphere, so it wasn't the waterproof or bulletproof one.
I guess so. I guess they need to mark those a little bit more clearly, right?
Jimmy Fallon just must have been shooting it like the Cadillac gyrosphere. It was just a different one.
That was the one for the rich white folks.
Yeah.
So Claire, the geek, and Owen swim to the shore, and all of a sudden you see these ex-Marines. They're loading up all these dinosaurs onto this giant cargo ship, and the lava is coming faster and faster, and they basically start abandoning their equipment. They abandon jeeps and trucks and all this other stuff, and they're like, get on the boat, get on the boat, get on the boat. And the boat starts taking off. So Claire jumps into one of these semi-trucks, okay? Owen and the geek get in there, and this is one of the biggest product placements I've ever seen. She decides to put on a John Deere green trucker's hat, and it says John Deere right across it. I mean, the blatant product placement.
I just thought that part was funny, Carlos, because it's like, she put it on kind of like she was trying to disguise herself so they get in there and they don't recognize them. But I was thinking the whole time, like another just super far-fetched thing for me was you got this whole boat of like grubby army dudes and like all of a sudden they're not going to notice the bright red-headed babe because she put on a hat. Like, come on.
Not only that, but her skin is super white. She basically glows in the dark. It's ridiculous. But what's even more far-fetched than that, you have all this drama going around, all this action. You've got all these army dudes. These guys know what they just did. They know that they have left these people to die on the island. As the ship is pulling off, Claire guns it, jumps the dock with a semi-truck, okay, and then lands on the ferry boat, which the doors have not been sealed yet, and she guns it and basically hits the truck in front of her. You mean to tell me that nobody noticed this semi-truck racing towards them and jump a dock? You mean to tell me that this truck didn't make this loud bang as it landed on the back of the ferry boat? This was worse than the bus jumping the highway in Speed with Keanu Reeves.
Maybe that's just normal protocol for them. They're dino heisters, so maybe they just roll a little harder than everyone.
It was just ridiculous. Nobody saw anything. What was this, a mob flick? Nobody saw nothing. It's just ridiculous.
You, I couldn't tell if this was a Christopher Nolan Batman movie at times or a Jurassic Park movie.
So they're on the ship, and of course, all these dinosaurs are locked in their cages and stuff like that. And they find Zia again, who is our dino vet, and she is treating Blue. Blue is bleeding profusely, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, Blue needs a blood transfer. But of course, his blood transfer cannot come from any of the other dinosaurs. It can only come from a carnivore. And what's the only carnivore that they have on board? The T-Rex.
Only three-toed carnivore.
There we go. She said that's how you would identify them. So, of course, Claire and Owen have to get blood from the T-Rex who is knocked out. Owen knows exactly what vein or what artery to get the blood from, and Claire has absolutely no problem with it. Are you kidding me?
Carlos, I've got to stop you on this one, because this one for me was like, and I don't know about you, I'm sure that you're probably similar to me. Like my veins, I have really terrible veins. They're like deep, and when I go get blood drawn or anything, it's like it takes the nurses like 4 or 5 pricks just to get my arm. And so I'm like, you're telling me you just shove a thing in the side of a T-Rex's neck and you magically hit a vein the first time you shove it in there? Like, come on. It takes the nurses 10 minutes just to find my veins.
Not to mention that this dinosaur has scales, okay? And these things are hard as rock. I mean, you basically need a jackhammer to get through these. Are you kidding me? That's what I'm saying. And while we're on the subject of pricks, because you are one big prick, I mean, you do get pricked a lot. My record is actually 22. They've had to stick me 22 times to try to get a vein. And they've actually gone, if you look at your hand, okay?
Yeah.
If you make an L with your fingers, they went through the skin in between my thumb and my pointing finger. That is one of the most painful veins that they have ever stuck me with to get blood out of me.
And the last time that I did, I think, was when I was in the hospital for my kidney stones. So, like, not only am I in excruciating pain, like, can't even hardly stand up, I've got these goofy nurses that are calling in, like, 2 or 3 other nurses because they can't stick me. So it's just, like, insult to injury. They stick the needle in and they're twirling it around, and they want to go and they wanted to try and go to my hand. I was like, no, why don't you just, like, find my vein like you're supposed to? But apparently we're experts at dino blood drives now because we're dino vets.
Exactly.
First
Now,
time's a charm.
I do want to rewind just a little bit, okay? Right after Claire has jumped the dock and landed onto this boat, you see all of these dino capturing Marines, or whatever you want to call them. They look back at the island. And I will say this, Nick, this is the one part that got me. I mean, I got a little teary-eyed. It hurt just a little bit. You see this Brachiosaurus, and he's kind of looking at the boat, trying to figure out how he's going to get off the island as this lava is encircling him. All of a sudden, he gets engulfed by all this ash cloud, and you see through the ash cloud his outline because of the glowing lava, and you hear him roar with pain, and you see him stand up on his hind legs, you see his neck, and you just know what's going on, and this poor dinosaur is basically dead at that point. And that to me was a little hard to watch. It was just not necessarily because it was done poorly, but it's like, oh man, it's the end of an era. It's the end of, the dinosaurs once again. That part kind of touched my heart.
I didn't have a problem with seeing that dinosaur die in the burning flame, and here's why, Carlos. Because like 15 minutes before that, which we glanced over, which I wanted to come back to, is we have they first get to the island, and it's all of them in those armored tanks, and it's like a really, really poor man's recreation of the really iconic scene from the first one where in the first one they're in the jeeps and they're kind of going through the wilderness, and the head is in the map, and all of a sudden they shake the head and you look up and they get out, and it's like the first time that they see the dinosaur. They have like a really terrible version of that in this movie where it's the hippie dino vet. They stop and you hear kind of the feet rumbling, and she goes, I've got to get out to see this. And it's like this really weak attempt to have that same type of moment where it's the first time she sees the dinosaur and she sees the brachiosaur. And she's like, oh, he's so beautiful. I can't believe I'm seeing this. And it's supposed to be this emotional, scene like the first one, which is like a really iconic scene because you get the music and it's like one of the best scenes in movie history. And in this
it's one of the best.
It's like a cheap remake. And so when I'm watching this dinosaur, they're trying to have this emotional thing where he's getting burned on the island. And I'm like, you're not the real Brachiosaur. You're just an idiot you're not the real guy from like 25 years ago.
That one was probably dead a long time ago.
That guy was dead a long time ago. But I guess we also learned that because of different kinds of conditions and appetites, that apparently the dino vet is an expert on how long dinosaurs may live now because she's seen all of them before. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. She's the foremost expert in your field. Excuse me, if you're the only one, of course you're going to be the foremost expert.
I could have done without her character and without Dork Boy's character entirely.
I know, but they always have to have one of these. And of course, as they're on the ship, as they're heading back to land, Dork Boy gets captured, or not really captured, but they spot him. And he gets roped into being one of the crew and, hey, hurry up, we need your help over here. You need to do this, you need to do that. Are you kidding me? You're surrounded by all these men who look like they have 4 to 5 T-bone steaks as a midday snack. and you've got scrawny little computer dork, and you think he's with you guys? You think he's one of you that's helping you lift these giant ropes and, these crates and stuff like that? Are you kidding me? We definitely could have done without both of them. But of course, they have to have, these little characters that help build the story. So we're fast forwarding here. All of a sudden, we find out that all these dinosaurs are being transported to Lockwood's house. I don't know, again, I don't know many billionaires, but I don't know how many actually have a docking bay for multiple cargo ships or cargo semi-trucks. And
I only know a few billionaires, but only like one or two of them have those docking bays. Not all of them. So I thought
okay, well, you'll need to introduce me. And then they have elevators large enough to carry these dinosaurs. A T-Rex. Are you kidding me? It was a little too far-fetched. And, we're fast-forwarding here. All of a sudden, we meet Lockwood. We meet Lockwood's granddaughter and this and that. And then here's another thing that I did not understand what was going on here.
We're a weird thing off the bat where it was always kind of weird that he was so weird about like letting her see the pictures of her mom, and she like doesn't know what her mom looks like. I was like, what?
Not to mention
turning this into,
because this girl had to be what? She was like 11, 12?
Yeah, she was probably like 10 or so.
In 10 years, you've never seen a picture of your mom ever?
That was weird. And he's like holding the photo book because that's what all people do when they're dying, and just like very protective over it. And so you're like, bro, just show her, like, just let her see some pictures. What's going on?
So I will say this, this character, Maisie, who is the granddaughter, she, of course, is the key to all of this because she hears that Eli is trying to steal these dinosaurs for his own benefit, that he's going to weaponize them. And, of course, she's an avid dinosaur lover, and she goes and spills the beans to her grandfather, who then reprimands Eli. And, of course, Eli then smothers him and kills Lockwood. Now, here's another problem.
Carlos, I know that you would appreciate this. While that is happening, what's going on in my head is we've got a guy that's got billions of dollars at his disposal that is weaponizing dinosaurs, and the way that he kills his guy is by doing the Seinfeld pillow. Like, he just smokes him like, oh, you mean like this? Like, that was a little anticlimactic to me. This guy's got everything at his disposal, and he smothers the guy with a pillow. Like, make a velociraptor eat his face off or something.
And here's another problem that I had with the movie. Here we get to the next point. Maisie follows Eli to this elevator that leads from the main house down into the laboratories that are underneath this estate. And she sees the code that he punches in, right? After she overhears him that he's going to weaponize these dinosaurs, she punches in the code. She gets into this giant elevator, goes down to the lower level, comes out of this restricted area, and it says restricted area everywhere, okay? And she walks into this laboratory where the computer is miraculously on to the screen where it shows that Chris Pratt was training Blue and how Blue was this, the best dinosaur of all the dinosaurs that they had raised. Where are the security cameras? Where are the security guards? How the heck did this little girl manage to bypass all of that? Where is everybody? This is such a restricted area. It's ridiculous. They must have been out on the docking bay at the house unloading the dinosaurs.
The shipment of dinosaurs came in, so they were all helping with that.
They were unloading all the meat from Costco that they had to feed these dinosaurs.
Right? Yeah, there was a lot of things that were goofy. It was kind of cool, I'll say. I would have liked if Jeff Goldblum's character was in it a little bit more. I thought it was kind of cool that they incorporated the guy from the very first Jurassic Park who was like the chemist, scientist guy that actually brought all the dinosaurs together. That Asian guy, Wu, I think his last name was.
Dr. Wu, yes. So you're talking about B.D. Wong. B.D. Wong has been with this franchise from the very beginning, and, we've seen him develop from just basically this kind of assistant kind of person that's just a gopher is what I would call him. Like, he doesn't really have a real role. He's helping all the other scientists, and now he's become like the lead scientist. He's the foremost genetic engineer, and he's doing all of this. And of course, the big reveal here is that we had the Indominus Rex, whose base quote unquote genome was T-Rex, with little bits of velociraptor in them. Now he's developed a velociraptor that, responds to commands. They have all these genetic enhancements on him, and, this is going to be like the big reveal. Again, this is where you see aspects of the first, second, and third one. The aspects of the second, like you said, the aspects of the first where this veterinarian sees the dinosaur for the first time. Aspects of the second one is where they're bringing the dinosaurs back to the mainland. Aspects of the third one is where you see all these genetically enhanced dinosaurs. They're just trying to put everything into one movie. Fast forward a lot, we find out that they are trying to weaponize these. They're trying to sell these dinosaurs to other countries. And of course, they're using Russia as the one that is basically winning the auctions for all these. And you'd think that you were at an auction house of Christie's. And they are hauling out these dinosaurs one by one. And these dinosaurs are going for millions and millions of dollars. And like you said, this guy is getting so excited over $20 million when he has billions of dollars at his disposal.
It's kind of like quit while you're ahead, bro. It's kind of like the Snapchat guys. Like, you developed an app that's made to send dick pic. Like, just take your $1 billion and walk out, bro. Like, you were chosen as a young man to be the sole controller of this guy's $1 billion fortune. Like,
and you just killed him.
Yeah, just take that win, bro. Like, do you need to sell dinosaurs on the black market? Like, quit while you're ahead.
Exactly.
And the little dino auctioneer was like a really funny character to me. For some reason, they picked like this real short, weird guy, and he's got like funky teeth. And there's that weird conversation where they meet up beforehand, where it's like, bro, you came all the way out to this island, and then he's trying to like strong arm him, like, oh, maybe this isn't even worth my time. I make $100 million on a Tuesday. Well, like, why did you fly out to a remote island? And like, it just kind of weird dialogue and weird instances all the way around.
So you're talking about Toby Jones, and he is, like this weird. He plays Mr. Eversoul, and I guess he's like a black market auctioneer. And so he plays Dr. Zola in the Marvel Universe, Captain America, all these other things he created.
Wouldn't know anything about it.
You wouldn't know anything about that. But yeah, he's a little weird character, and basically he is running this auction show. So throughout this, of course, Claire and Owen have been captured. They are locked up with all the other dinosaurs downstairs. Maisie goes upstairs and finds out that her grandfather is dead, right? And she is sitting in a dumbwaiter elevator, right, hiding, and she pulls this photo album out of her dead grandfather's arms, and that's when Eli comes back in and is talking to her nanny and stuff like that. And the nanny says something really weird. She goes, I raised both of them. She means so much to me, and we don't really know what she means by this. And that's when Maisie pulls out the picture of her mother, and it's an exact picture of her. And she can't believe
at that time, I couldn't tell if it was like, are there like twins, or there's going to be some weird twist? Because you see that the little girl looks exactly like her mom in the picture, and you can tell that it's the nurse, but much younger. And so you're like, oh, maybe she just looks a lot like her mom, or I didn't really like understand where they were going at that point, but you kind of understand that something was weird.
Because it's an identical picture. The mom is probably 10 years old in the picture, and Maisie is about 10 years old. So Maisie is just crying. She just lost her grandfather, who's her only living relative. Claire and Owen are locked up. Who knows where the paleontologist veterinarian is? Who knows where the geek is? So then all of a sudden, Owen is trying to break out of his little jail cell, and in the cell next to him, he has a Pachycephalosaurus. Like I said, he turns into this dino whisperer, and just by whistling, he is commanding this dinosaur to ram his skull into the wall.
He turns into the Hammerheadosaurus.
Exactly. So, like I said, I love dinosaurs. I always loved them in school, and so I know some of these names. So this dinosaur busts into the cell with them. So here's my other problem. Okay, you had this dinosaur break down the wall for you. Now he's in the cell with you. What did you think was going to happen? What was your next step? So, of course, he positions himself at the cell door, and just like in any cartoon, the only thing that was missing was the red bullfighter cape, and he tricks this dinosaur into ramming his head into the cell door, and that's how they bust out. And so he's going to ruin this auction, so he puts the dinosaur into the elevator and hits the button so that he comes out at the auction. And just like in the second movie, you have all these dinosaurs running loose, running wild, and of course, it had to be as they were demonstrating this genetically enhanced velociraptor. And this velociraptor responds to this special gun that if you point the laser at somebody, transmits sonic waves, this raptor is automatically going to go after them. And this is, I half expected...
If you point a gun at somebody and have a laser scope on them, you could just shoot them. You don't need a $20 million super source to do that.
I'm pretty sure it was more than 20 million, but that's just me. That's all he was going for at that point in the auction. But I mean, this movie, it never stopped.
It was just one thing after another, Carlos.
It really, really was.
The weird like black market underground dino auction was kind of weird to me. Just because it was like so big, it was like there was 100 or 200 people there. Like, how many people are there in the world that are buying $30 million dinosaurs? And the way that they did it, that was really where I had kind of like is this like a Marvel villain movie or is this Jurassic Park? It was all just kind of a little goofy to me. I thought it was really silly how once the dinosaurs like were on the loose and you get the scene where the super dinosaur starts chasing Chris Pratt, it's like all of a sudden 5 minutes later, that dinosaur and Chris Pratt and them are the only people like, where did the 200 dino auctioneers go? Where did all the other dinosaurs go?
Well, one thing has to be said. You have all these people that clear out, and they had to come into the house. There was only one way in and one way out, which was this giant elevator. And then you have Toby Jones's character, who is running towards the elevator because now all of a sudden this raptor is loose, and he's pushing the button in the elevator, and the door is closing. It's slowly closing. You don't know if the raptor's going to make it or not. And of course, the door closes just in the nick of time, saving him. Well, then what happens? The raptor's tail hits the button on accident and the door opens again. So now this raptor is trapped inside the elevator with Toby Jones and a couple of other people. And of course, the door closes and they're stuck in there with them. And so he eats their faces.
He eats their faces right off.
Exactly. Not only that, but then right before that, we see the ex-commando, the leader of these commandos, right? He has this, I guess you would call it a fetish for teeth. Or he likes pulling the teeth
off the dinosaurs for like a necklace that he's going to build.
Exactly. But he's in the cage with this velociraptor that they have tranquilized, okay? This genetically enhanced whatever. This raptor is playing dead. He's playing possum. He knows that the guy's in there. He knows that he's trying to grab his tooth, and he is just waiting for his moment to all of a sudden wake up and eat this guy. And he does. He absolutely
eats that guy's
does.
Face off.
I think the only thing that was missing from this entire movie, and I literally, no joke, Nick, I was waiting for it. I half expected this dinosaur to start talking. Scooby-Doo, oh, I'm sorry, Shaggy. That's all that was missing from this movie, is a talking dinosaur.
For me, there were just so many goofy things that didn't add up, and it's like, I'm just picturing the screenwriters that put this together. They're getting millions of dollars from whoever produced this movie, and it's like, just throw something together as fast as you can. It doesn't really even matter what they say as long as we got dinosaurs in there. Because
Exactly.
you got parts that, like, they make a point that the super velociraptor has a heightened sense of smell, but then when they're on the chase scene with Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, when they're on the Triceratops little fixture, it's like you can't tell that they're 20 feet below you. Like, where's your heightened sense of smell?
They're
like,
right underneath you. And this is, of course, paying homage to the original, where they're in the kitchen and the velociraptors are in the kitchen and the kids are hiding, and that dumbwaiter elevator, that elevator, where she's hiding in there, where Maisie's hiding, trying to escape from this elevator.
Same thing is like the blonde girl in the first one where she's in the kitchen thing trying to scope it down.
Exactly. And here's my other problem.
Another one that was goofy for me.
Here's my other problem. She takes the elevator to her room and then hides not even under her bed. She just gets into bed and covers herself with the blanket.
So one of the things that I thought was goofy even before that about that scene is that You just have where this dinosaur like rips up basically the entire house, the whole stairwell, every single hallway. But now all of a sudden it like can't bust through a 100-year-old wooden door that's in this elevator thing. Like, come on.
So then all of a sudden, they're in the room, and of course Chris Pratt comes and saves the day, and the Velociraptor is trying to come after them, this and that. And so then we find Dr. Wu, who is again trying to save his own career, and his nurses or whatever are gathering all the blood samples and stuff. And then, whoa, here we go. Here is the crazy dino vet, and she basically tells, he's telling her, you need to get a sample of blood from this Velociraptor because I need this. You're going to do it. You're going to do it for me. And she says, well, you know that his blood isn't pure anymore because I infused him with T-Rex blood. And he just goes crazy. And then I don't remember. Does he die? Or did they just knock him out? I think they saved him.
Didn't she like stab him in the neck with a tranquilizer or something?
Yeah, these tranquilizers are made for dinosaurs, and these humans are just being tranquilized left and right, left and right. The whole thing was crazy. But of course,
I hated everything about the Dino Vet.
So the Dino Vet is chained to the crate where Blue is being held. And of course, this is just the only way that they could reintroduce the character. And who stabs Dr. Wu in the neck with a tranquilizer? It's Nerd Boy, who is now dressed up as one of the assistants trying to package all these DNA samples. So, of course, there's like a big shootout and guns and this and that. All of a sudden, there's this toxic gas that's being leaked into the containment area where all these dinosaurs are being held, where Claire and Owen were originally. And of course, they're trying to activate the ventilation system, and there's a ventilation system issue, and all these dinosaurs are breathing in toxic fumes. So we're fast forwarding through a lot of it. Of course, Blue wakes up and comes and saves Claire and Owen. They are able to take out the genetically enhanced dinosaur and this and that, blah, blah, blah. So now we find Claire, Owen, Geek Boy, Maisie, and Dino Vet, and they are posed with a dilemma. Do they let these toxic gases...
Before we get there, one thing that I thought was really funny was when Dino Vet, they meet up together. It's already after the toxic gas has been released, and she goes, quick, I've got something to show you. Like, okay, let's all go run to the toxic gas. That's a good idea. That's what you want to do. When
exactly.
There's a giant toxic gas leak, you want to take all your friends to go to it.
Well, they are protected because they are in the control room. But as they're going through here, this is where we find the giant plot twist. Maisie is a clone. Lockwood has cloned his daughter, and, Jeff Goldblum's character, Ian Malcolm, made reference to this in the beginning. Is like, where do we draw the line? We're cloning extinct animals. What's to stop us from cloning our dead loved ones? And we find out that this is where Lockwood and John Hamm basically had a breakup. They have, this is where they disagreed. They were using this technology to try to bring back dinosaurs. Lockwood decided to clone his daughter because his daughter died. I don't know what she died of.
I don't think they ever said.
But, he thought that was completely against the laws of nature, that you shouldn't be cloning humans. So now we have Maisie the clone, Geek Boy, Dino Vet, Owen, and Drop Dead Gorgeous Claire.
The whole crew.
None of her clothes is ripped. She's not bleeding. She hasn't smudged her makeup at all. Her hair is still...
She gets poked in the leg by...
a shard of glass.
No, it was the Super Raptor, like when they're in that glass cage thing, he punctures her leg with his,
that's right. I completely forgot about that. But she's still walking fine. No problem. There is, of course, an emergency button which will vent all of the toxic gases. And Owen looks to Claire and says, Claire, if you do this, this is our one shot. Back. Again, there's no going back, because if you push that button, the doors are going to open and these dinosaurs are going to run out. Yes, you're saving their lives. But again, what are we going to do with all these dinosaurs that are loose? Let's rewind a little bit also. All these auctioneers, all these people who have auctioned, their dinosaurs have already been delivered. They're already in transit. This is Amazon Prime at its best. These things are already being shipped. I half expected drones to be lifting these dinosaurs to them.
Hey,
So
if Bezos could figure out how to ship dinosaurs, he could maybe like pierce the 200 billion mark. That's
right.
what's next.
So then Claire has her hand on the emergency release button. She's about to push it, and she decides not to. That she needs to let these dinosaurs die. She needs to put this behind them. They cannot deal with dinosaurs living amongst us. And so as they're walking away...
It was really funny to me, Carlos, like just the way the scene played out, because you have like fighting to protect the dinosaurs the whole movie. Claire is... That's like what she's trying to do. And you have this really dramatic moment where she has to decide. And so for me, it was just kind of funny the way it happened and the way they shot it, where it's like, oh, we're going to save the dinosaurs. No, F it. On second thought, oh no, let's just watch them all die instead. That's a good idea.
Well, they start walking off. They start walking away from the control panel, and they've all come to an agreement that these dinosaurs they need to die. And they try to make it as heartfelt as possible. It's more of a mercy killing for them. So as they're walking away, all of a sudden the lights turn green, alarms start blaring, and the doors start opening. It's like, oh my gosh, who the hell pushed the button? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dinos out? It was Maisie. And Maisie
Maisie.
Little clone Maisie. Maisie basically says, I pictured myself down there because I'm a clone too. I mean, that wasn't the dialogue verbatim, but that was basically what she was saying, is that even though she's a clone... They're like me. And if she has the right to live because she's a clone of a human, these dinosaurs have the right to live because they're a clone dinosaurs. Clones are clones, equal rights. Once again, political undertones throughout the movie, and now these dinosaurs are out and about. This is where we start wrapping up. We go back to Jeff Goldblum. He's back before the Senate, and they're talking about, what's going on and this and that. And they show, all this has happened in upstate New York. They show the T-Rex. He's in Central Park, and at the Central Park Zoo, and he's having a roaring contest against the lion.
That wasn't New York.
I thought it was.
It looked like California to me or something. There's no like cliffs or valleys or mountains like that in New York.
It looked like Central Park Zoo to me. I've been there once in my life. That's where I thought it was. I will say...
You've never been to Central Park Zoo?
Yes, I have.
Get out of here.
Anyways, so this is where I think you think it's California, because cut to Claire, Owen, and Maisie. I guess Claire and Owen have decided to adopt Maisie.
They show them driving up the coast.
They're driving up the coast, right? And they look to the left, and what do they see? Pterodactyls.
Shamusaur about to eat some people.
And then you've got these surfers, and you see this giant wave coming, and in the wave you see the Mosasaurus. So this I don't know about you, Nick, but as soon as I saw all these dinosaurs now coexisting with us, right? All I could hear is... Because that's basically where we're at. Now we're having to coexist with these animals.
As a rule of thumb, I don't like any movie that has like a really dumb catchphrase that's the highlight of the preview. And so at the very end, I thought it was such a cheesy cherry on top of the already terrible movie when Jeff Goldblum really dramatically says, now we have a Jurassic World. And then you see all the dinosaurs out. For me, that's red flag number one. If you see a really stupid like Ant-Man, I can't wait to not see that movie, because their thing was, oh, are we going to focus on, can we stop arguing about our size now? Like, if that's the best line in the movie, I've already seen it, and I know it's going to be terrible. And for me, that was just it was like the cherry on top of the cake of terribleness. Jeff Goldblum really dramatically, well, now we've got a Jurassic World. And yes, I really wish Jeff Goldblum had a bigger role in this movie. I really do. He was great, because he's
just one of those actors. I really wish we also knew where Ellie was and Dr. Alan Grant. I wish they could have made a cameo, maybe even the kids also. But yeah, that a good one. That is Jurassic World in all of its glory. We spared no expense. I feel like
it was a really lazy movie.
Oh yeah. Definitely. They try to fit way too much in it. They try to fit way too much. And you know what? Honestly, Nick, as we're discussing this more and more, I really feel like giving this a 5 is being very generous. I'm actually thinking about dropping down to a 4.5.
Like I said, you've got so many goofy things, but at the end of the day, it's still like kind of entertaining. You still have dinosaurs and they're still eating people. The plot is really dumb. I would have almost enjoyed the movie better if there was like no plot and it was just Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard like running around the island being chased by dinosaurs. Like
Just
that
like
would have
Lost
been
World.
just as good. Just like Lost World.
And
Like,
you
it's like
know
the
that they're
the script and the dialogue and the plot was so terrible that I really think that the studio probably just gave like 2 or 3 dudes a couple $1 million and said, it doesn't
Here you
really
go.
matter what you write. People are going to see it anyway. Just like make sure we've got enough pages of dialogue. Throw some kind of plot in there, but it doesn't really matter what we do. We're all buying new Bentleys because of this anyway.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. So, all said and done, are you sticking with your score? What is your final score?
Yeah, I think I like 5.5, 6. That's about right. Like as it was happening, I was recognizing, hey, this is very stupid. There's a lot of holes in the plot. It's really goofy, but you leave the movie thinking, all right, it was still Jurassic Park and it was still all right. Like probably better than some other movie I could have wasted. The theater I was at, it was a matinee, and I probably could have stayed in there to like sneak a double feature in. But there weren't even any other movies out that I would have wanted to see, so I'm not sure that there's anything else out better than this right now. I know that Incredibles is getting in a ton of play. I don't really care about that.
That's shocking
like, if
to
you're
hear,
gonna
seeing
go,
as you have a toddler.
I've got a toddler, but I never really watched the first one. Like I think it came out when I was in high school, so I'm not trying to see a Pixar movie or a little kid movie when I'm like 18 years old, so I don't really care about it. If you're like gonna go see a movie, you might as well waste your $10 on seeing terrible Jurassic Park because there's nothing else out there, and at least it's still dinosaurs eating people.
Exactly. So, like I said, you're going to have these diehard fans who have been with the franchise from the beginning. You're going to spend the money despite what the critics or what I'm saying or what anybody is telling you because you technically want to see how bad this movie is. I'm going to stick with my score of 5. It was still a good time. I still enjoyed it. Like you said, it's dinosaurs. What more? One of the lines that really, really just put the last nail in the coffin for me is when Claire's talking to the senator at the beginning and she says, "Senator, do you really want your child to grow up in a world where there are no dinosaurs?" Are you freaking kidding me? These things have been extinct for years. For millions of years.
I've got a child and I'm okay with not having man-eating 20-foot reptiles running around our world. That's not that tough of a proposition for me.
Exactly. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of GOAT Movies. Nick, I really appreciate you coming on the show with me again. I just love having you as a guest.
Carlos, fun as always. Next time we'll have to do a good movie.
There we go. We'll try and see whatever's coming out next. It is the beginning of summer 2018 movies, so there are a lot more movies up ahead. If you or anyone you know wants to be a guest on the show, all you have to do is shoot me an email at goatmoviespc@gmail.com. That's goatmoviespc@gmail.com. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at goatmoviespc, and we'll see you at the movies.